All right, welcome in. Let's let the nut cutters and the chatterheads start rolling in so we take off the waiting screen. As you'll see, it is just me today. We are currently in Oakley in Cincinnati, Ohio, not in the normal Chicago studios. Don't have the memorabilia behind me. See on the final, on the bottom there, it says final. Games not final yet. It is 79-65. We are currently going for a cover right now. 12.5 is the spread. I may or may not have some action on it. I do. I got to keep the games interesting, but this was interesting from the get-go because Eastern Washington's actually a pretty good basketball team. They went 16-2 last year in the Big Sky. We'll get into that in just a moment. It's nice to be battle-tested early, but again, we're fighting the spread here with 2:04 remaining in the game. Co-host Houdini not able to make it. He's currently driving home from Gary, Indiana. All right, Day. Make something happen here. Yeah, so welcome in. I'm going to start looking at the chat in a second. Lucocious, what are you doing? There we go. Cats up 15 with 1:45 to go. Come on. Back doors creaked open for these Eastern Washington bettors. So the Cats won. The game's over. This would be the largest comeback in collegiate basketball history, I believe. So we'll go ahead and call it a win. I got 3-0 at the top. On today's show, we're going to talk about the solid win. Hail to the victor. Just a splendid performance from Victor Locken after we talked about how the Bigs, may not have it this season. At least offensively, Victor Locken had no issues today. Oh, faux shizzle, my jizzle. That's Jizzle James. Once again, had a nice outing. Had 11 points the last time I checked. Got to look through the box score real quick since this is popping up live on YouTube. CJ Frederick was missing in action. I don't think he's scored yet. And then Sharon is carrying who is going to be the who's going to be the alpha on this team. Today it was Victor Locken. Last game it was CJ Frederick. We've seen Jizzle get into the mix. Dan Skillings has been consistently around 10 points every game, so we'll see. Let's see who's in the chat. Fetters, how are we? Lindsay, good to see you. I figure a lot of people watching the Bengals game today, including my brother in the background. So we only got 2 watching today, but again, this is what we do. We promise live post-game shows after every game. Rain, sleet, snow, Bengals, doesn't matter. We're here for you, for the Bearcats fan, and then the audio version, obviously, in the morning, which will probably get a little more traction than this post-game show right here. But let's check if 82-67 Cats, 1:35 to go. Let's see if we got to update these stats. Just about ready. There's about a minute left, Reed, and then we'll fire up the show once we get a final score for the folks. 82-67. I may be behind. I mean, with these ESPN live streams on my phone, this game could definitely be over. All right, let's give you the play-by-play. Why not? Let's practice. Jizzle James, top of the key, 1:25 to go in the game. Here's Lucocious on the left wing, about 30 feet away from the basket. Dribbles in the lane, penetrates, corner. It's Josh Reed on the right side. Drives in the lane, a little spin move, and missed it. This is going to be a tough cover right here. Because Eastern Washington's going to be chucking up threes, down 15. Spreads 12.5. Layup, 13-point game. This would be devastating. This would be a devastating backdoor cover. All right, Jizzle. Finish. Jizzle to the bucket. Would have been counted, but he missed it. 13-point game, 48 seconds to go. Let's get ready to run this thing in just a minute, Reed. Probably one more possession, then Cincy will hold on to it. Let's see if anyone in the chat's got action on this game. Fetters, you got action on this game? Minus 12.5. You got action on the Bengals? Minus 5.5. I went with the Cincinnati parlay today, Reed. Minus 5.5 Bengals, 12.5 Bearcats. Muskies play today? No Muskies? Yeah. Responsible betting. Betfred. Remember, Betfred Sportsbook. Even though technically they're not the main official sponsor of Chatterbox Bearcats, we love Betfred. How can you not love Betfred? All right, Jizzle James at the line shooting 2. He's been good. The Muskies play Purdue tomorrow. It's a tough game. Cincinnati Bearcats. All right, one more possession. We'll get this post-game show rolling. Cats up 15. One stop. I'm getting up like Wes Miller right now. He's telling his guys to defend. Come on. Come on. One stop, baby. Jizzle James, 13, ties a career high. Let's update that real quick before we get this show started. All right, that's fine. That's fine. Covering by a half point. Don't foul. 26, 11 for Day Thomas, 13 for Jizzle James. Let's update this. Oh, no. You've got to be kidding me. All right, now you got to foul. They're not going to foul. Oh, my God. Oh, what a devastating bad beat. Oh, they fouled him. Nice. 2 free throws for John Newman to cover 12.5 points, folks. All right, let's get a final score up. I think we jumped the gun on going live a little bit early, Reed. But we're going to have to, instead of tentatively scheduling it for about 10 minutes left in the game, especially in a solo show where I'm talking to myself and just worrying on the cover. And what do you know? John Newman misses the free throw. Looks like 85-73, maybe the final score here. And I'm not going to cover. The half-point bad beat. That's a joke. Great teams cover. Cats aren't a great team, folks. 3-pointer, no good. Come in, foul him. Nope. Cats will hold on to it. 85-73 is going to be the final score. I'm updating that. Let's go to this baseline crawl. Let's put in Jizzle James with 13. And the Bearcats do not cover the 12.5. Don't cover. All right, Reed. Let's do it. Chatterbox Bearcats starts right now, everyone. Bengals just stealing the show in town. Everyone's at Paycor Stadium watching the Bengals against the Houston Texans. This one had trap game written all over it because Eastern Washington's pretty good despite that 0-3 record. This team was actually in the game against Chris Beard's Ole Miss Rebels just a few days ago. They were down 3 with like 5 minutes left in that game. So they can play basketball. They proved it last year winning an NIT game. They were 16-2, and they're projected to finish 3rd in the Big Sky this year. So that wasn't like Detroit Mercy. That was an actual competitive team that's not bad whatsoever. And the Bearcats handled business 85-73. They lose out on the cover by a half a point. Those that had Bearcats minus 12.5 are pulling out their hair because the Bearcats should have covered that one, and they crumbled late. Anyways, let's run through this one, how it went down. Bearcats were up by 9 points at halftime. Victor Locken was outstanding for Cincinnati. 26 points, 11 rebounds. Probably the best game of Victor Locken's career. We'd been talking about how the bigs for Cincinnati had not stepped up so far this season, offensively or defensively. Defensively, Victor Locken was pretty good. Grabbed the 11 rebounds and 26 points, which included a couple of 3 balls. We'd heard this entire offseason that Victor Locken was expecting to play the 4. He expected to have that 3-point in his package this year and was expecting, Aziz and Jamil to play the 5. Victor Locken's the 5 again with Aziz and Jamil ineligible. And apparently he can shoot threes, at least today. Hit a couple of them. Talking at his post-game press conference right now. Big smile on his face and a big smile on Wes Miller's face as the Cats win at 85-73 to improve to 3-0. Running down the box score, John Newman had 10 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. John Newman, all of a sudden, looks like a real good basketball player. I was hesitant to call him one of the best players on this team heading into the season. I thought that Dan Skillings would probably get the nod at the 3 guard. They go with the veteran and John Newman. And man, I don't know where this explosion came. I don't know where it came from. He's had the length forever. Was always a tough, gritty guard a couple of years ago when he played in Wes Miller's first year with that team that had Mikey Saunders and Mason Madsen. And he was pretty good, good defensively, didn't give you much offensively, showed some pop in his jump every once in a while. But I mean, today, another one-handed tomahawk flush in transition. Newman looks good. You know what he's going to give you. It's 6 to 10 points per game, probably. Knocks down a couple more threes today. He's been good shooting the 3 ball. And if Cincinnati gets that from John Newman, then that is huge throughout the rest of the year. Day Thomas, 11 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. Not his best shooting night, but once again, he showed that he's extremely explosive. He's consistent at the point guard position, and Cincinnati really has no worries at that point guard position, at least against the lesser teams. We'll see how they fare defensively against the Big 12 competition when it steps up quite a bit. But as of right now, 11 points, 5 assists, 4 boards for Day Thomas. He's looking like a really good player. CJ Frederick was MIA. He's been great all year. Had the 14 and the 13 in his first 2 games, not respectively, but not in that order, I should say. He's been knocking down threes throughout the entire year. Today, his shot wasn't falling, picked up 2 fouls early and just never really got into a rhythm, didn't play many minutes. And he is one of the he's actually the only Bearcat that played in the game to not score. So the fact that the Bearcats were able to win by 12 against a team that had 16 conference wins last season, and they did it without CJ Frederick doing anything, is big time. Odi Oguama, 3 points, 4 rebounds. Dan Skillings had 9 points and 7 rebounds. It's looking like Dan Skillings is consistently going to give you, between 8 points and 12 points, and then give you, 7 rebounds every single game. NBA scouts from like the Miami Heat, I think the Nets, and a few other teams were at Fifth Third Arena to watch this game. I would imagine they were there to see Dan Skillings. Maybe there to see the freshman Jizzle James. They were probably impressed with the way Locken played in this one, but I would think that they were there to watch what Dan Skillings had, probably the most enticing NBA player, unless they were there to see Aziz Bandango and they didn't get the memo. But I doubt that was the case. Simas Lukosius started off a little bit slow, picked it up late. He had 11 points, 4 assists, and 2 rebounds. I'm expecting Simas to really be the spark plug this entire season, a steady force in there that doesn't take bad shots, that penetrates the lane and finds the open man. Again, with the 4 assists today and the 5 assists last game, you know that he does a good job of, I call him he's the surgeon. He kind of just picks apart the opposition's defense and is really a steady hand in there. I like Lukosius a lot. Anyone that watched Butler games last year or just looked at the box scores throughout the year knows that Simas Lukosius can play. And then Jizzle James ties a career high. Second straight game with 13 points, had 2 assists, 2 rebounds. At least against this lesser competition, the speed of collegiate basketball does not look too big whatsoever for Jizzle James. Fo shizzle my Jizzle. Just really impressed with what we've seen from Jizzle James. Josh Reed, again, gives you 2 points, no rebounds, no assists. I would love to see Rayvon Griffith take that spot at some point. Just not impressed with what Josh Reed gets you. But you heard Wes Miller say that he thinks Josh Reed's really good, and Rayvon Griffith is just not there yet. Again, he said the same thing about Jizzle James. He said that Jizzle James wasn't necessarily there yet. The difference is, Rayvon Griffith is fighting with Josh. He's fighting with Simas. He's fighting with Dan. He's fighting with John Newman, a bunch of guys at that position, whereas Jizzle is the clear-cut backup point guard to John Newman. Welcome, everyone watching. Lost the YouTube stream, but trying to see who's on there to say what's up to everyone. Let's pop this sucker up. We got Lindsay. How are we? Reds Daily. Alex Wallace. Good to see you. I agree, Alex. Cincinnati needs the Bearcats to return to its former glory. They got the uniforms to prove it with the blocks. Still not seeing Bearcat basketball in the toughness and the grit that we used to have in the 90s. That's expected as of right now with Wes constructing the roster. But in terms of talent at the guard position, there's no doubt that Wes is moving this team in the right direction. And then another big thing, Cincinnati actually was in the mix for a 4-star guard in Perry, Travis Perry, out of Kentucky. He was getting ready to make his decision at 2 p.m. Let's see if he chose the Cats. He was crystal balled to Cincinnati. That would be a big get. The number one recruit in the state of Kentucky, a point guard that's 6'2", can really shoot the basketball. He has not made his decision yet, but on the show in the morning, I will obviously let you know whether Travis Perry's a Cincinnati Bearcat or not. And if he is, that's big time for Wes. So Eric Hicks, Alec Wallace's fave back in the day, Alex Wallace. So anyways, I just wanted to run through a very simple show today with the Cincinnati Bengals playing and me doing a solo show. Didn't think that there was a huge reason to get too much into the nuts and bolts. But on Chatterbox Bearcats, we promised you one thing, and that is after every single game, rain, sleet, snow, Xavier game going on, Ohio State game going on, this generation's Y2K happening, whatever it may be, I'll be in the bunker. You see the background's different today. I'm on vacation, and I'm still bringing it to you because that's what we do on Chatterbox Bearcats. Consistency is everything. And when the competition steps up against the likes of Texas and against the likes of Kansas, I mean, I'm hoping this chat room is just electric with about 100 people in there after the Kansas game. One can only dream. But as of right now, appreciate you guys sticking around. Let's tell you who the Bearcats play next. It's Northern Kentucky. The Norse beat the Cats last year. That would be devastating if Cincinnati fell 2 straight years to Northern Kentucky, a team that wasn't even in Division I basketball just 5-6 years ago. The Bearcats poached their coach, and since the Bearcats poached John Brannon, it really hasn't been the same. But 3-0, man. All you can beat is the team on your schedule. When you beat them convincingly, which it really was for Cincinnati, who had the 8-point halftime lead, you'll take it. Stats-wise for Cincinnati in this one, they shot it pretty well. 28 of 60 from the floor. That's good for 46%. 8 of 21 for deep. Good for 38% on their 8 of 21 from deep. So the Cats, a team last year, their offense was just disgusting. It was Landers Nolly, it was David DeJulius, and it was Davenport. Nolly created his own shot. DeJulius did a lot of dribbling to create his own shot. They were actually, not good shots by any means, but they went in at a very consistent clip. So with that being said, it's just a completely different style of offense. You don't have that type of one-on-one ISO basketball. It's a lot more spreading the wealth, and it makes you wonder who is going to be the go-to come conference play when Cincinnati's in a tight game with 15 seconds left. I think right now you put the ball in Day Thomas's hands. He's shown you that he can create his own shot, and at the very least, he can dish the rock. He had a couple nice passes to Victor Locken down low today when he carved his way into the lane. I think Dan Skillings has shown that he's a pretty consistent offensive player, at least can get to the basket. And then obviously, if CJ Frederick's in there, and he has an opportunity to knock down some threes, he is going to be one of your key contributors late down the stretch of games. Simas Lukosius, that's someone I'm expecting more from. I don't think he's looked for a shot nearly enough. There was a play late in the game where he actually knocked down a three-pointer and stared at it for a minute. He was wide open right behind the three-point line, was sitting there, and there was about 2 minutes left in the game, and do not know why he was so hesitant to shoot it, because he is a sharpshooter. He knocked it down. So we'll see if Lukosius gets a little more aggressive. But again, I'm expecting this to be every other night a different leading scorer from Cincinnati. Game number 1, it was Day Thomas. Game 2, it's CJ Frederick. Game 3, CJ Frederick doesn't even score, and Victor Locken puts up 26 points. So with that being said, spreading the wealth, it's not necessarily a bad thing. We just haven't really seen it from the good Bearcats teams of recent, because they've had, guys that last year it was consistently Landers Nolly or David DeJulius that would lead the way. Years before that, it was consistently Sean Kilpatrick. But hey, the best Cincinnati team in the last 15 years, It was Gary Clark. It was Jacob Evans. It was Kyle Washington. It was Kane Broome. It was Cumberland. It was a bunch of different guys that you could spread the wealth to and rely on. That's what we're hoping with when it comes to Cincinnati today. That's pretty much it for the most part. The Cats win the rebounding battle 43-38. They grabbed 13 offensive rebounds. They blocked 2 shots. This is not a team that on their back end is going to block many shots this season with Victor Locken and Odi Oguama. However, if our man Dave Yost comes into the picture, and frees Aziz and Jameel Reynolds, you can expect this team to look completely different. And quite frankly, look at these court hearings moving forward. Keep an eye on Dave Yost's social media pages and the things that he's saying, because as of right now, that is the key to the Bearcats' success this season. Without them, I think they're a solid team, like Dan Hort said. Fun team to watch, solid tournament team, maybe. I'm thinking better than last year. How much better than last year? I don't know. With Aziz, with Jameel, all of a sudden you're looking at a really good basketball team. Cincinnati turned it over a ton last year. They were sloppy. This is not looking like it's going to be a sloppy basketball team. Just 7 turnovers in the game, which is very impressive considering you have 2 first-year point guards in Division I basketball. Cats protected the ball. They were efficient. They win by 12, and they go into Northern Kentucky next weekend, or host Northern Kentucky rather, with a 3-0 record. Chatterbox Bearcats, enjoy the Bengals game, everyone. Let's give some shouts out. Anyone else join that we need to give a shout to? No, it's the same cast of characters. Nick Kirby, love you too, my man. Keep up the good work with Chatterbox Reds. Chatterbox Bearcats, we are live after every single game on YouTube. Sometimes it's going to be more electric than others. And when the Bearcats schedule a game against Eastern Washington on a Sunday, smack down in the middle of a massive Bengals game against the Houston Texans in Cincinnati, I wasn't expecting more than 6 people. But hey, we hung here. We got the content out. The audio version of this podcast will be available in the morning as Cincinnati takes down Eastern Washington. 85-73 the final score. All right, Reed, appreciate you producing. Reed Mouse on the 1s and 2s today. We will see you next Sunday after NKU. Let's make it electric in the chat. Tell your friends, everyone. How about a little mic drop? I'm going to give you a little mic drop on the way out, folks. See ya.